Hello, welcome pen friends. My name is Chris and I'm back with another video. I'm also back from my 2-week trip to Vermont. I had a great time. It was an awesome time, very intense too. There was a funeral involved and there was just a lot of highs and lows. But I wanted to come back and give you kind of an after action report on how it went with my pens and stationery, as far as my journals, my fountain pens, and what I was using while I was on the trip. Because you know how it is for all of us who have lots of pens and notebooks and traveler's notebooks and all that, and we can't carry it all with us. So I remember distinctly that I came on here before I left, and I talked about what my plan was. And my plan had been to take my Chic Sparrow traveler's notebook, the Pemberley Rose, in the pocket size, and I was going to make that work for everything, for my food journal, for my journaling and my bullet journaling, and recording or documenting my journey, my trip to Vermont, and time with my family. I was going to try to do that. Well, I got cold feet right before I left on going into that smaller size because I found myself journaling a lot more. And so I ended up realizing that I just absolutely had to take with me my regular Leuchtturm bullet journal, which is right here. And you know, I found myself writing more right before I left, and doing more planning for while I was going to be there, and checklists and things like that. So I thought it's not a good time to switch from this larger size, really. When you look at it, that's a huge difference in size. And I just thought that would put stress on me that I didn't really need. So it was a good choice. It turned out to be good, and weight-wise, this wasn't too bad. What I did was I still took a pocket-sized, actually I think this is passport size that I got from Goulet Pens, and this has Tomoe River paper. And in this was where, you know, I wrote down all of my eating, you know, my fasting windows, what I ate, and it was a real messy kind of little notebook, but I carried this in my little travel purse, so that I didn't have to have this book with me everywhere. And I think that kind of saved the day. But I've got it here now just to have it carried here. But what I found was, and I had to kind of bind this up and just show you pages that I haven't done yet. This is just pre-planning for next week. I'm just so used to this size, and I like being able to decorate with stickers and washi tape and different color things. And what I found was I really needed to stick with what I'm used to, which is I have a weekly spread. And of course it was, and then this is my June one, but I had my May one going in here, but I've got it all bound up because I've got phone numbers, addresses, personal information, you know, like we do, journaling and stuff. But what I ended up doing while I was gone, I ended up really using my bullet journal in a better way than ever. I had a whole page for each day, and I did kind of a little bullet notes on what I had been doing or what I'd already done. And then at the end of the day, I just filled the page up with writing, whatever it might be about. I would color these the way I did here. And that leads me to another point. The whole star of the show for me was my Lamy Vista. That was the fountain pen out of the 3 I took that I used the most. Now, this pen has somewhat of a dry nib, but that works so good on the Leuchtturm paper, which is, I wouldn't call it thirsty, but I would definitely call it that it compensates. You know, it definitely, and it worked really, really well with the Diamine Earl Grey. So that's what I was using for all the writing parts. And then I could come in and use color, but because gray goes with everything, and it was so, so nice. So that was the star of the show, fountain pen wise. And I did also bring along my TWSBI Go pen with the medium nib, and the Kaweco Perkio with a medium nib. But I didn't find myself using these as much. In fact, when I came back, the Earl Grey was just about gone. So I used a whole fill plus a little bit more, and it was dry. It just needed to be flushed when I came home, you know, the day before I flew. These I did fill back into the little ink samples. You know, I just put the ink back in because I'm an ink miser like that. And then I flushed them out, cleaned them. It looks like maybe that one might need just a little more work because I can see some little, yeah, I just wanted to make sure in the motel room that I was careful not to hurt anything, but got the pens cleaned. So then the next thing that was astonished me was that these little Stabilo pens, I should have brought more of these with me, but I think this is a set I've had a long time and I didn't have very many left, but this was my splash of color. So I also used the purple and the blue that I had in these pens, and it didn't soak through the Leuchtturm paper, so that was good. And I had along the gray Stabillo too, in the larger one. But these little ones, these were worth it to me to check and see what I still have left. I don't have very many of this size, but that's a great size. And they fit right into this Bond travel gear cover. So I was really enjoying that. I didn't have this here. Instead, I was using this pen, the Precise V5, and that's a very fine line, but that was great. And these, and so I could just tuck them in here and they fit right in. And this one I just kept inside my rickshaw case because I love being able to look at that. But every once in a while I'd stick it in here because this accommodates everything. You know, it was really easy to work with this. And how I came about this whole setup, this is like a nylon A5 zipper case, and it has a really nice zipper on it, was I watched a video by Earl. He's a fountain pen person from Australia, and he'd done a wonderful review on their product. And what it came with, it was the case and their book, which is here it has their Bond travel gear. So I haven't done a review on this because I really felt like his was just so good and I had been pressed for time. But this has the Tomoe River paper, and I got this going for our purposes for the channel, for looking at the different inks. So that's what I'm using it for. But I found that it is about maybe a 1/4 inch wider than the Leuchtturm. So this zipper case accommodated my Leuchtturm with tabs, which I don't have very many right now. I just had a couple little washi and a little tab from that I ordered on Etsy, and I'm drawing a blank, but I'll go ahead and link you to Robyn's Etsy shop. So in here I carried this stencil, which was super important to me. I like to use the stencils, and I carried postcards, which I have sent out some, but I really need to do more. At first, all I could find was these ones that they let me have for free, the Top of Vermont, which I didn't quite understand what that was about. And then finally, I found a place where they sold some postcards because I wasn't, you know, I was quite pinched, really, for activity-wise and time-wise at times. And so I didn't get around to all the places I normally would because there was the funeral and a mini family reunion and things like that. My mother's younger sister passed away. And many of you know that because I had kind of done some updates. But this is how the system worked, and I just loved it. I used some of the washi tape that I had taken with me. I could have brought more variety, but I was trying to keep it light, the weight-wise, and it just worked out so well that I wanted to share that with you. These are just a couple of rocks that I picked up. The other reason I'm doing this video, quite frankly, is that I am over my head in terms of where to begin, and I'll talk about that at the end. But these are little, this one was at that Willoughby Falls in Orleans, Vermont, that I found this real smooth. And this is another smooth one I think I picked up there as well. It's sort of like a granite that's been really smoothed by the river. And then this one is one that was just picked up probably in my brother's driveway or something. And it shows how that granite looks before it gets softened and run over by the water. So I just love rocks. I've got tons more, but I just put them here because I just love them. Let's see, I want to make sure that, oh yes, I wanted to talk just a minute about the rest of what I carried that was stationery related. So this was the primary thing, was to have my bullet journal and then to have the little booklet in my purse so I could write down what I was eating. And by the way, I came back 1 pound lighter. I don't know how that happened, because I didn't stick to completely low carb the way I normally do. I bumped it up. Instead of keeping it around 50 to 70 grams, I was happy if I kept it under 100 grams of carbs per day. And so I was able to eat what other people were eating. I was able to eat out and enjoy some really interesting food. And I didn't restrict myself, you know, fully during that 2 weeks. So to come back and be 1 pound lighter was sort of surprising to me. But what I noticed was the intermittent fasting portion of this really lifts you up and helps you if you are eating a little differently. But both of them together, there's just no stopping the correct, you know, it corrects your weight issue, or mine anyway. It apparently is the right thing. Okay, I'm off on a tangent. I was going to show you, I did bring my little Sugar Skulls zipper pouch, which I didn't really need. I really carried too many extra things. Like I didn't find myself using the pencil. I just went straight to the Stabillo, which looks like a pencil, and that was great to use with the stencil. I really didn't have time to be too fussy anyway. I guess I did use the 6-inch ruler, which I could just put in the bullet journal, which is probably what I'll do. And then this Uniball, I didn't use as much because there's just no way I could beat the way this Lamy Vista wrote on the Leuchtturm paper. And this one just seemed drier. And maybe I'm coming to the end of the pen. It's a great pen. It writes really good on some papers, especially. And then, you know, I just over-carried pens, which I think we do, right? And we're pen people. This was in my pocket every single day. So this is the Pokka pen, and it's the Muddy Girl one, the one with the kind of pink camo. So I had a ballpoint pen everywhere. And one of the things in my mother's, you know, assisted living, you have to sign in and out. And I always had a pen, even if they didn't leave a pen up front with the clipboard. But so it was just super, super handy. And I'm glad I didn't lose it, because a lot of times they'll roll out of your pocket. But this was one that I was glad I took. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of, I did over-carry regular pens and even fountain pens, because I didn't need 3. I really got by so well with the Vista, which wouldn't have been the case if it was simply Tomoe River paper, as in the food journal. Then I would have been really happier probably with either one of these medium nibs, where there are lots more wet nibs, and it just would have been better. But because I was using Leuchtturm paper, I was getting along super well with the Lamy. Oh, I always get along with it, but it wasn't dry at all. So it was just right in there. So I think that pretty well does it as far as after action report, how it went. I love my Chic Sparrow pocket traveler's notebook, and I use it at home, but I just can't quite move into a smaller bullet journal, and that was what it was all about. And the bullet journal keeps me straight for the most part. I still, it was a shame I didn't get to see everyone this time. But I got to see people on my mother's side of the family, cousins, aunts, and uncles that I hadn't seen in years, and I don't quite know how that happened. But so you know, I think we're always going to feel that way if we go for just 2 weeks. We're not going to quite manage, you know. And my anxiety was high, I'm going to be honest. You know, my mother had a fall the first day I got there, and she was okay, thank goodness. But, you know, I stayed pretty, I had to do a lot of journaling, and I had to do a lot of self-care while I was there. So, you know, more so than at home, where it just sort of naturally, you have your routine to fall back on. So the only other thing I want to do, because this is getting long, I want to talk about what's next, because I'm already working on what's next. I came home to another pen parcel from Birmingham Pens. So I've got 5 inks from that, and I'm just going to show you a little spoiler. This is the panel. I did this last night. This is day 3 of being home, and we've been really busy, but this is what I enjoy. So this was like my chance to really unwind. So we've got we've got 3 greens, but in totally different categories. And then we've got 2 inks that are sort of brown. This one seems very complex, the black mold. So we'll take a closer look at these in a video. And then we are losing May. May is going really fast. And as you probably recall, the last video I did for you, as far as ink is concerned, was the May ink flight. The ink flight 28 is the Pelican inks. And I've done complete reviews on aquamarine and olivine, but that leaves us with the first 5. So you may have noticed, I already have turquoise in my Lamy. Let's see if you could see that blue. Maybe not. It's already in there. Oh, it would be nice if it would focus. It's already in the pen, and I'm already started kind of exploring it. And I've also got my Serendipity loaded up with it, and I'll be working on that. So that'll be our first ink profile. So that's what's kind of coming up. Well, I'll try to stick in the order that's here. And I just thank you all so much for just a huge thank you. I had 3 parcels and several, like I think over 6 letters waiting for me from pen pals. And it was just quite an awesome thing to come home to. But all the messages while I was away, which I haven't gotten to answer all of the messages on the channel yet. I'm going to keep going, you know, and then there's new ones each day. So I'm going to keep going back and answering them, and hopefully I'll close the gap eventually. But I just really appreciate all your views, all your comments. And I want to say that on the way back, of course, I was feeling emotional. I was feeling very emotional because I want to be both places. I want to be in Texas with my family and my home and my pets, and I want to be in Vermont with my family and the beauty of the natural beauty of my home state. But I opened up my email after I dropped off the rental car and gone through security, and this is the first email that hit me. It was that I got my very first Adsense payment for ad revenue for ads on my channel. Now, I don't put ads on absolutely everything. If I do a river video, I just don't do that, because what I'm hoping to provide you is, things about pens and inks and, content like that. So I monetize that now. It's going to help me when I get into this, buying these chromatography strips, for instance. And also the other thing, the first thing I ordered when I got home, I was out of these cola rings, and I didn't dare order them before I left because I was pinching my pennies for the trip. So things like this, supplies like this, that I say we need for the channel. So I just want to thank you, because your views and your comments and your participation, it all helps. It really does. And I think that we can all benefit from being able to take closer looks at the inks. So I'm going to leave you on that note, because I've gone way over by 2 minutes of what I had planned. And I hope you're having an awesome Memorial Day weekend. And I'll be back here soon. I'm going to be really, really going through this Pelican Edelstein 4001 turquoise. It's a gorgeous ink. It's just really pretty, and I hope you'll enjoy it too. So bye for now.